Hoffman Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Friday, September 15th. It is a Teal Friday here in Duval County. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to get into Jaguars versus Chiefs Week 2 matchup and get into the matchups to watch in this one. As the Jaguars host the Chiefs, it will be a teal out on Sunday, so be sure to wear your teal. The Jaguars will be wearing their all-teal uniforms. Should be a lot of fun. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop and pick up some new Duval gear. So we'll start off with the coaching matchups because I think they're huge. I think there's great coaches involved in this game. Obviously, Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, they don't really go head-to-head as much because they're both on the offensive side of the ball. But getting into it, I think Mike Caldwell, Jaguars defensive coordinator, second-year defensive coordinator, can he trick Mahomes and Andy Reid at all in this one, right? The answer is usually no when you're talking about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But Mike Caldwell is the type of defensive coordinator, if he gets execution from his guys, there will be enough variety, in my opinion, on the back end. They mix up the coverages a lot. They mix up the fronts a lot as well. And maybe it's not even tricking Mahomes or Reid or giving them a look that they're not ready for, but perhaps the wide receivers. They got a lot of young wide receivers in Kansas City. You don't know how much Travis Kelce is going to be involved, if at all. You've got Rashee Rice that they're relying upon, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. All of those guys made some mistakes last week against the Lions, who ran a lot of zone coverage despite being a man-heavy team in 2022. Can you fool any of these young receivers? Just make a mistake or two and then capitalize on that mistake by, forcing a turnover or getting off the field, what have you. So I think Mike Caldwell versus this Chiefs offense is going to be fascinating. And, the Jaguars players, they got to go out there and execute. You got to get some pressure. You got to contain Patrick Mahomes as well. If you're able to do that, maybe you're able to get off the field a couple enough times to give your offense a chance to put up more points than the Kansas City Chiefs. And on the other side, Press Taylor and Doug Peterson versus Spags, right? You have Steve Spagnuolo, a Super Bowl defensive coordinator, a guy who's been at it a long time, done a really good job for the Chiefs and the Giants before. For me, Press Taylor calling plays. It's his first time being the full-time play caller against the Kansas City Chiefs for these Jacksonville Jaguars. The Chiefs, they ran a lot of cover one, a lot of cover two. They had a lot of man looks last week. I think if you're running man against some of these Jaguars receivers, the Jaguars might eat you up a little bit. We'll see how it plays out. Steve Spagnuolo is also going to run a lot of diverse coverages, and he's going to blitz. He's going to bring the blitz a lot. The Jaguars and the Chiefs are both going to bring pressure. Trevor Lawrence has been much better when not pressured, which is common, but he's also been much better when not blitzed, which as quarterbacks get older, as they get more experience, they usually start to eat up blitzes if they're good quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence certainly is that. You saw Patrick Mahomes do that throughout his young career. Early on, he was able to start just roasting teams that were blitzing him after a year or two as a starter. Can Trevor Lawrence do that if Steve Spagnuolo brings the blitz, which he probably will in this one? Now, looking at the players in this matchup, Josh Allen versus Juwan Taylor, I think is fascinating. A long history between these two, right? You have Juwan Taylor and Josh Allen. They've been playing going back to their college days, SEC Florida versus Kentucky. They've been going head-to-head in practice for 4 years. They're both in their fifth year now in the NFL. They were drafted in the first and second round by the Jaguars of the same draft. It's really interesting. Juwan Taylor, it looks like he's the catalyst for the illegal formation crackdown league-wide by NFL officiating this upcoming weekend after, the entire country saw just where he was lining up. And I don't think it's a matter of the false starts getting called. I think it's perhaps the illegal formation where he is aligned at the snap versus when he's going. Because I think he gets that right foot, that back foot going, the right foot in that kick. And they're not going to call that because he's doing it simultaneously with the snap count. Now, maybe if you're out there making a lot of noise, it can be a little bit difficult for Juwan Taylor to do that in this one. We'll see how that plays out. I do think he's a better player at home than on the road overall, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see Josh Allen and Juwan Taylor going head-to-head. They've been teammates for a long time. Now they have to go and try to win a football game for their respective teams. I think that's fascinating. The entire Jaguars offensive line versus Chris Jones, we don't know how much Chris Jones is going to be available, where he's at physically. Obviously, he's stayed in shape, but staying in shape is not the same as being in football shape, going through training camp, going through the preseason, all that stuff. Brandon Sheriff and Luke Fortner are both banged up with ankles, but they are going to play, according to head coach Doug Peterson. So I think that that's obviously going to be really important to have those guys out there and have them playing close to full strength. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do that, but that's 2/3 of your interior offensive line. Ben Barch is coming back off the knee injury that he suffered last year. Played in week 1, struggled a little bit against DeForest Buckner, which shouldn't come as a huge surprise. DeForest Buckner, one of the top defensive tackles in the league. But if you're talking about Chris Jones at full strength, this is an entirely different animal. He can line up against anyone on that defensive front and beat them and even beat double teams. He can even line up, at edge, at defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs in this one and give your tackles trouble. So I think that's going to be huge. Don't know how much he's going to play, but if he does play a lot and he's ready to go, it's going to be tough sledding for the Jaguars up front. You've also got Travis Kelce versus his knee, because if he's full go, I just don't know how the Jaguars get off the field enough to really slow down the Chiefs and have them not score close to 30 or more points in this one. I think it's going to be really tough if Travis Kelce can go. Can he, though? Don't know. The knee had the knee bruise, the bone bruise in the knee. Is he going to be good to go? It's really entirely up in the air right now. Calvin Ridley versus the secondary. What do they do to slow him down? I'm not sure how you do it, quite honestly, in this offense with Doug Peterson and Press Taylor dialing it up with Trevor Lawrence throwing the football. The Chiefs usually, like I said, run a lot of man coverage. I don't think that plays out well against Calvin Ridley in this one. But that will do it for my matchups to watch. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, notification bell so you don't miss a show. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good one.